like Israel and media, right? But do you think that it's just capitalism? Like, don't you think a lot of times it's just business, and that's how business works, is that they're, like it's one of the side effects of capitalism.
If that were the case, so the reason why this is different is because Israel is actually the exception. They are the only country that's allowed to lobby Americans. Like everyone else has to register as a foreign agent and under FARA.
Like with AIPAC or whatever?
Yeah, so AIPAC, the backstory, by the way, before JFK got shot, he was fighting AIPAC. They were previously called, I'm blanking on this, you can look it up. And he was literally saying you have to register under the Foreign Act.
Is that true? Let's look it up.
1,000% true, and you should look it up. We should fact check that live. He was fighting with what is today known as AIPAC. Was renamed AZCPA. I don't know what that stood for.
In 1959, AZCPA was renamed AIPAC and American Israel Public Affairs Committee, reflecting a broader membership and mission.
Yeah, so JFK told them that they had to register under FARA. And so American Zionist Council, that's exactly what it was called.
Okay, American Zionist Council was a pro-Israel lobby in the United States founded in 1949. It represented 9 nationwide Zionist organizations in matters related to...
See at the bottom there? In 1962, look at the last paragraph. In 1962,
President John F. Kennedy and his brother Bobby, as a U.S. Attorney General, forced the AZC to register as a foreign agent. In doing so, they were barred from making monetary contributions to U.S. officials. Who was barred? AZC?
Yeah, so AIPAC, for lack of a better term. They were called AZC back then, but continued to send out newsletters and hold events with a nonprofit tax exemption. Mm-hmm. And then what happened was he was shot. So he literally, they were writing him letters. You can find this. This is all this is available information. And he was like, you need to register, you need to register, you need to register. And then we told you to register. Why are you not registering? This makes no sense. And then AIPAC got lucky because he got shot and killed.
What also you could
So they are the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to further conspiracy theories.
Country?
They're the only country that's allowed to lobby Americans are not registered under the FARA Act. And so when you see these
under the
people,
what act?
FARA. So that's like if you're a foreign agent, you have to basically register, your communications are monitored, all of this stuff. But for whatever reason, Israel is an exception to this. And the reason is because JFK got shot, because otherwise they would have been under this. So that is the reason that they're allowed to do this. And so, when this... And then, of course, we're not allowed to read the files, but leading up to his death, he was having arguments with the prime minister, Ben Gurion. That's a fact, another fact. He was having heated arguments with Ben Gurion, and then look it up. JFK.
The Foreign Agents Registration Act is a U.S. law that requires people and entities working on behalf of foreign governments to register with the Department of Justice.
Mm-hmm. So it drives me insane to see these absolute frauds. Like when they go, oh, Russia spent $1 million, or whatever they said. I remember they came after Lauren Chen, and they're like, there is an idea that Russia spent money, and they'll say something like $26,000, or they spent $3 million, and influenced the election. And all of these people will be taking money from AIPAC, but they're like, oh, well, AIPAC got lucky. Well, JFK got shot.
But wasn't the Russia story just burn yourself towards action, right? Well, let me say this. How do you keep because you got anti-Semite of the year or whatever, decade, or I don't remember what it was. Yeah. But because I don't like what Israel, their space in Gaza, right? That to me is just seems super tyrannical. But didn't they just come up with a thing today about the ICC? They can't prosecute Netanyahu?
Yeah, because he runs shit.
Is that today?
Yeah, he's the ultimate grand gangster. He's even when they catch him doing the crimes, and we created this court for exactly what it did, they said, you can't do this. Then they say, well, just cancel the courts. Can you imagine being that much of a worldwide gangster? It's crazy.
Right. And I wish they would just say, look, we're still letting everybody be gangsters, because that's what I don't like about the media a lot of times. There's this thing. It's we all need to look out for each other, and we need climate change, and we need to make sure that everybody has a safe place to urinate and all those things, which, yeah, I think all those things are important or worth discussion. But at the same time, you'll have countries that are still playing this Fidel Castro type of role. Israel is we are partners to the end, and this is how it is. Yeah. The problem is, I think you used to be able to do that, but the news decided to not be the news anymore. It decided to be like not real, you know?
Well, because the CIA purchased them, right? And that's a fact. Again, you could pull this up so that we can conspiracy theory. What is Operation Mockingbird? The CIA, after JFK was shot, which is just a fact. Please look it up because I'm going to sound crazy if you don't look up Operation Mockingbird. But everything happens after JFK gets shot.
I'm never going to work again, but let's look it up.
It's fine. No, this is on Wikipedia, so we're not even we're not on Reddit feeds here. You know what I mean? Everything I'm showing you is on Wikipedia, so it means they've admitted it.
Operation is an alleged
here we go.
Scale program at the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early years of the Cold War, attempted to manipulate domestic American news media organizations for propaganda purposes. And where were they from?
1963. They're at the bottom.
So it's just a group of Americans?
No, the CIA just paid American journalists to say what they want to. Operation Mockingbird, right? So that you and I are taking money from the CIA. This would be the theory, and
if
they're paying us.
Yeah,
if we're journalists, and so then our job is to be like gaslight the American people. So that if, let's say, the CIA was involved in shooting JFK, right? Okay, well, that kind of is what I believe as a conspiracy theorist. But I don't listen to me. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe CIA was involved. And so the next thing you have to do, if the population's freaking out, what's going on? What's going on? Okay, they start putting journalists on payroll and they're supposed to gaslight you and be like, this is a closed case. The matter has been closed. JFK tripped and fell, and that's how he died. And anybody saying anything else is a conspiracy theorist. Also a fun fact, the term conspiracy theorist was created by the CIA. It's literally a gaslighting. It's a word that's used to gaslight you. And so I've fallen in love with going back and learning real history and recognizing that the public school classrooms, which I grew up in, were meant to program me and to social engineer me. And so to find historians, if you want to know why people react the way that they do when Tucker has on a Daryl Cooper or somebody that's deep in, can tell you more about World War II and more about World War I, whatever it is because they are the mockingbirds, right? They are freaking out because this is now failing. There has never been any indication that Operation Mockingbird has ended. In fact, it is known that Barack Obama reinstituted Project Mockingbird. And so you have to know these things.
How do you know that?
You can look it up, Project Mockingbird Obama.
But did you write the article that's out there?
No, I'm not. They would never let me be an editor. I won Anti-Semite of the Year. There's no way they're letting me do anything ever on anything government stuff. They've put me on the ADL list. They've tried to smear and libel me into a ridiculous way to make it. I mean, they say I'm literally Adolf Hitler.
Speaking about Epstein, right? How do you know he's not just a Jewish guy who was being perverted or whatever, and that he was doing business? There's no real connection that he works for Israel, though.
Well, he had passports. Yeah. So, and then it's also his ties to Ghislaine Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell. The whole Mossad attended his funeral. He died in very weird circumstances. I don't think even people who are pro-Zionist would deny that he was obviously Israeli-American intelligence. And he had weird passports. I mean, he had a Saudi Arabian passport, an Israeli passport, an American passport.
Oh, he's perving then.
And under different names, by the way. He had working passports of these different countries with different names. You can't just get that. You know what I mean? You can't just get these passports without being connected to the intelligence services. And it was never made clear why he was so rich. So who was giving him all that money? Was this black ops, our tax dollars going to give him this illusion of wealth and power so that he would party with all of these billionaires? And yes, you're right. Blackmail operations happen all across the world. I think America, in terms of just how America has been seized, that's the only explanation for how Israel's able to expand with such a small population. And somebody has to be fighting their wars. Somebody has to be funding them. We're funding them. So I think we've just become the piggy bank to them.
But if that's the case, what is the cross relationship? Because I think the Middle East is historically a place that's not super chill, So that's probably what a lot of people would say is oh, well, you need an ally there, right?
Which is so stupid. I hate when people just say stuff. One of my things that
it's a strong theory, though.
But it's not. It's just people just say things that are said all the time. Why the hell do we have any business in the Middle East at all? Why are you just trying to tell me that I need an ally? I actually don't. I don't. Why are we involved constantly in Middle East drama? Again, this is one of the things that we've just been programmed since childhood to think that we need to be. Why are we in Afghanistan? Okay, let's say the Taliban is terribly corrupt and they're making women wear. I would like to mind my business. You know what I mean? And
right.
So there's this idea of international expansionism, international liberalism. Everybody must think like us, live like us. really like I'm good if they don't. Actually, I'm cool if like Russia wants to decide how Russia lives, and if
I agree with
like
that.
Pakistan wants to decide how Pakistan lives. And
What the fuck?
why are we so nosy? I actually just, we're like next door neighbors. Never once have I thought about how you live. I've never, like, when I got your address, I was like, no, I've never thought, well, I really think that the morals in my house are so good that I just need to go next door and force Theo Von to live like I live. And this is what time I wake up. I wake up at 5:30, and he should get up at 5:30, and he should organize, the clothes. Like, I just don't, I kind of like to mind my business, like a little bit, if that's possible. If America could employ that foreign policy for a bit, it'd be great.
I agree with that. That's exactly how I feel. But I do think that we're so fucked in the Middle East because we've started so much. We've been just as bad as any other country, right? So then it's like you can operate within the reality of things.
Yeah.
But then also people say that, like, well, why do you think there's such a strong relationship between the two countries then?
Blackmail. I think blackmail. And I think this is the reason why we don't get to open the Epstein files. We don't get to open the JFK files. And I think it's a form of gaslighting us to pretend that our special friend and ally isn't just and by the way, parking aside America, other countries too. You investigate anything. I mean, I'm investigating Brigitte Macron, and Israeli blackmail comes up in Morocco. Israeli blackmail comes up in. So to pretend that we don't know that Israel is involved in blackmail operations is foolish. And again,
I think all countries are probably involved in them.
And I think that they have been like they have gotten it down to a science. And there's no question in my mind that like sexual blackmail is what Jeffrey Epstein was involved in. And I don't know if that means these people don't know when they go to these parties that the girls are underage, and then it's like, haha, we've got you on tape, whatever it is. And we can even, taking a look at the Diddy case, blackmail, these powerful blackmail operations are definitely operating. And
that's actual blackmail too.
Yeah, it's true blackmail. I mean, if you have hidden cameras and you're capturing people doing drugs and sleeping with underage people. So I think these are blackmail operations, and I think they've been going on for decades in America. I think it was Jeffrey Sachs who spoke really well about that, the history of that on Tucker Carlson's show. And he's Jewish, and that's what I hate about it. It's trying to make Jewish Americans think that they have to defend the country is so ridiculous. I am not required to, if my family goes back to Uganda, I'm not required to defend Uganda as a state. I'm sorry, I'm an American, and I think what you're doing is wrong. If it doesn't really matter, And you're right to say that it's sort of this circumstance where everybody knows something is going on, and they think they're just going to keep gaslighting us. It's so weird. Like, they're just going to go, nothing's going on. Nothing. There's just everybody woke up one day and decided to be Hitler. Like, that's what the media is basically accusing us of, for like noticing a lot of dead people, like a lot of dead women and children. And that's failing. And by the way, I think that is the reason. I don't regret them doing that, because it's the reason why podcasts like the mainstream media, this like effort to just keep smearing, libeling people for noticing basic human things. And I don't regret it, because I think it's the reason that trust with them has been fractured. I'm grateful that people no longer believe them. I'm grateful that now people are going to independent podcasts. And when we go on to Spotify, you see like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. That means that for holding on to just like basic human values and being willing to talk about issues in a way and not pretend that your audiences are stupid and not seeing what you're we've earned their trust, and I don't want to fumble that ball. Like, I want to always say, even if I don't know something, and sometimes I can't speak on it, that I don't know everything, but I'm willing to find out before I speak on it, or at least have the conversation and not treat you like you're an idiot and I'm like the authority.
Yeah, I just can't learn at a fast rate. Yeah.
And then when I'm going to be like, oh, well, if you don't support what, the president of Ghana wants to do, then you want American slavery back. I'm like, it's like, what? What are you talking about? Just because I'm black and like maybe my family is from Ghana, why on earth would I not be able to critique a foreign country for something that they're doing that is so objectively wrong? Yeah. And so it's disappointed me as someone who just had so much respect and belief in the conservative movement and believing that it was a principled movement, and Christians as well. I've been very disappointed in Christians who are trying to use this like biblical argument for just, well, no matter what, Are
people doing that?
Yeah, it's pretty sick, man. It is very sick. They're basically saying that the Bible, the Bible will bless those who bless Israel. And I'm like, okay, so we have a country who first and foremost doesn't have to give us back our pedophiles. Literally, they have this weird rule that you can go if you're Jewish and hide as a pedophile. And actually, an amazing Jewish organization did the work there. You could pull it up. I think it was on CBS. I forgot what the name of the Jewish organization, but they went to Israel and was like, why are we harboring pedophiles?
So there was a Jewish organization that they had pedophiles.
They did amazing. No, they were not the pedophiles. They did the investigation to show how people are using, how like people who have molested children in America, if they're Jewish, they can then make their trip to Israel and be protected by the government. And Israel doesn't have to they literally don't have to,
exposing.
CBS News, that's the second one.
How Jewish American
You will not find a single person who says that that's wrong.
Hide from justice in Israel. But can't they hide? Can't most people say so these are people that are Israeli citizens?
No, they can then become Israeli citizens. They're American. Right. So if they're being on a trial, you get to Israel, they'll protect you. And so they went to where all these, pedophiles are and spoke a lot about, this, or I can't remember the name of the organization, but they did amazing work there. Jewish Community Watch, that's what it is. And so that's what I mean, where it's like there's also this wrong conflation that annoys me as well, because you have Jewish organizations who will objectively say this is wrong. They recognize they are Americans. They don't support pedophiles. And yet the mainstream media is trying to conflate them and make them think that they have to defend the actions of this state. And yeah, if you even talk about this, so say it's anti-Semitic, talk about this. What are you talking about? You're taking billions. That's the difference here. This is a country that is taking billions and billions and billions. It's an American welfare state, And CBS jumped on it. A CBS News investigation has found that many accused American pedophiles flee to Israel, and bringing them justice can be difficult.
Okay, has been trying. To me, that's like
I totally disagree with him on it, and it's like it's hard to reconcile it in many ways. It's hard to reconcile because I see so much hypocrisy in terms of when we say America first, for whatever reason, we have this magic carve out. And you cannot pretend that that's not because AIPAC spends $100 million in our election. And this gets back to what we were talking about, whether it's Big Pharma, whether it's Israel, everyone's for sale in DC. And so I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza. I have been disappointed, by the way. He's the last person I'm disappointed with, because I've been disappointed, as we saw all last year, with the conservatives, people that say they're Christians, who are condoning this on the basis of what? Like you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares? And that gets into our programming, which I've spoken about in my podcast, of this 9/11 programming, where we just don't see Muslims as like human life. And to me, to speak about Gaza and talking about casinos and hotels, and these people just lost their entire families. Yeah. It's so far removed from humanity, and I think it's wrong. And I'm tired of America being used as Israel's piggyback. For whatever reason, everyone can critique every other country for taking money from us, and then there's just everyone's blind when it comes to Israel. And obviously, I paid a very heavy price for saying that last year, but I don't care, because I am truly someone whose values have never been up for sale. Like I don't care. I will burn everything to the ground and rebuild it. I have to be able to like sleep at night, and to see those Palestinian children, and the images are seared into my brain. The screaming, the crying, the bleeding, the stuff that we saw on X for the first time, largely thanks to Elon freeing the bird, and really realizing how much we had been lied to about what was happening in that region. It was very easy for me to say, take whatever you have to take from me. I have to be on like the human side of things.
I think it's become both sides of the aisle now just see that, human people just feel like this is that it's just wrong.
Angry. Like that should make people angry, irrespective. Like I said, it could be any country.
Unless, right, I agree with you that it's amazing.
Or let them all do it.
Right. If like America is owned by Israel or something, or part ownership or whatever, just tell us that.
Right. Well, they don't want to.
That's a weird thing I don't understand. Like
then you wouldn't sign up for wars. You would start to question things in a different way. And so it becomes important for the government to keep Americans ignorant of how Congress works.